Again, welcome to the city of West Miami. Today is Wednesday, May 3rd, 2017 at 7:45, and this is our regular commission meeting. For the invocation, Chief, please rise.
Let us pray. Dear God, each May, police agencies throughout the country come together to honor and remember those who have given the ultimate sacrifice to their respective communities. Tonight, we too come before you to ask your mercy and blessing on all law enforcement personnel, especially those who have lost their lives combating the evils in our society. It is thanks to your grace and help that countless thousands of police officers have the courage to serve the millions of residents in our great country. Accept our fallen brothers and sisters in your heavenly paradise and keep those here on earth safe, bringing them home safely to their loved ones at the end of their daily watch. Continue to rain down your love, unceasingly bring comfort and healing to the families of those who have died in the line of duty. While many in our society bring disdain upon our profession, conversely, when they need help, even those who speak negatively towards law enforcement are prompt to call 911. When that call for help comes in, our officers run to their aid, not asking them whether they like the police or not. It is our duty, and one which we accept, unknowing what or who lies behind the next corner. It is thanks to your strength, love, mercy, and guidance that we can go out each day and keep our respective communities safe. Let us never become separated from you and always protect the men and women in this dangerous yet chosen profession. This past Monday, we conducted our annual honoring services at the gravesite of Officer Leonard Tribble and Otto Delforn. Help the family of these two West Miami officers and all the fallen heroes who you have called to your heavenly kingdom. Thank you, dear God, and may we never forget the words in the Gospel of Matthew. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Law enforcement are our peacemakers, and thanks to their work and sacrifice, we can have the freedoms and liberties we all enjoy in our great country. To this we all say, amen.
Amen. Amen.
We have a video of our ceremony from Monday. Mr. Q?
Do we have sound, Chief?
Yes.
my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I am the resurrection and the life, says the Lord. Those who believe in me, though they die, yet shall they live, and whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. We come this day to remember Otto. Give thanks for his companionship, his presence in our life, and the witness to what it means to be alive. Bless this place, and ask God's blessing upon us as we pray. Almighty God, by the death and burial of your Son, you destroyed death and you sanctified the graves of all your saints. He buried his body to make the rest of your will. And he has raised him up, share with all your faithful people, hope, joy, and peace. The glorious resurrection of Christ our Lord, lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. Let us again as we pray that prayer, honestly pray. O Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. As we leave this place, O Lord, let us know that there is no hiding day, and that not your peace. Thank you.
Chief, can you stay for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
El lunes por la mañana. El más joven, to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, Mayor Eduardo Mujina,
Present.
Vice Mayor Candida Blanca, Commissioner Juan Blanes,
Present.
Commissioner Ronda Rodriguez,
Present.
Commissioner Luciano Suarez.
Yes.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 4, please.
Item 4, presentation of minutes for approval for April 19, 2017 special city commission meeting.
Thank you. Need a motion?
Motion. Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Presentation of minutes for approval for April 19, 2017 regular city commission meeting.
Motion. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. At this time, I would like to take a item out of order, and that will be item 11A.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item 11A. This is a presentation of proclamation designating the month of April as Autism Awareness Month and recognizing Brian Fernandez Cornejo for his courage to make the difference. This item is sponsored by Mayor Mujina.
Thank you. Madam Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and you've asked me to give, for the benefit of the commission and the community, a brief background on Brian and what he has accomplished through his art and through his work. Brian Fernandez Cornejo, who's here this evening with his big brother and his mother and dad, was born in Miami Beach, Florida, and surrounded by ocean and our vibrant sun in South Florida. He was diagnosed at the age of 4 years old with being autistic, spectrum autism. Since then, he has fought with a lot of courage and with the strength and the mentoring of his parents to overcome the challenges each day and to exhibit through his heart his art. And since then, he has developed paintings that have been featured in all of Miami-Dade County and all of Central and South America now, where his parents are taking him to show the rest of the world that even if you are diagnosed with an illness such as autism, you can make a difference by trying and by the good mentoring that he's had. Through his paintbrushes of colors, he's been able to express himself, and he can't speak, so he can express how he feels through his work of art. And this is also a typical condition that we see in autism children. This evening, Brian is here, Mr. Mayor, because the mayor and the city commission of the city of West Miami went ahead and designated the month of April 2017 as Autism Awareness Month. And we want to echo to the world. We actually want to give Brian a shout out and recognize him, so that you can recognize him for his potential, for his passion, for his parents for walking by his side and making him an integral part of this society. So this is Brian's story, and his family and Brian are taking his story to every single municipality in Miami-Dade County, every single organization that deals with that, so that people feel that they're not alone. They have and can make a difference in our world. So tonight, Brian is here, Mr. Mayor, to accept your recognition.
Thank you. Brian, let me say a few words really short. Besides being the mayor, I can tell you as an architect, I really admire your work. And the reason I admire your work is architecture is part of art. I went to school, got a degree in architecture, and I can tell you that my talent doesn't match your talent. I cannot paint like you. Even if I tried, even if I had the training, I will never paint like you. And I was amazed when I saw your work, and I really admire it. So, thank you. I'm not gonna read it. I just feel it's very, very long. But we wanted to send you this proclamation to Brian Fernandez Franco on behalf of the city of West Miami and this commission. We're so proud of you, and keep at it. Keep that energy and show the world who you are. Cup? By the way, that cup is the 70th year anniversary of the city of West Miami. Family, come over, Dad, brother. Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm very honored.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Mr. Mayor, also, if anybody wants to look, Brian has his own Facebook page, and he's been featured in our local news media. He's been featured, I believe, in Telemundo and Univision. Roxana, if I'm correct, if you Google him, you're going to find Brian's story, which is an inspiration. And I briefly met his mother when she came to the city to leave a message for the mayor, and I was very inspired by Brian's story. So,
By the way, Brian's ready to go. It's amazing when you give how much you receive back.
Thank you. Rosanna, we will have, I'll send you an email with the link of this portion of the meeting, which is videotape. We air it live to all the viewers of the city, and we keep a playlist of the commission meeting and this recognition in the city's archives in perpetuity. That's very nice. Thank you. Let me see it, Rhonda. Oh my God. Mira esto, Pepe. Oh my gosh.
Through colors.
Qué belleza.
Bye, Brian. Bye. Because I'm out of here. You can just take you long.
Too much for me.
I'm out of here, guys. Sorry to see you.
I went to school, I can't.
Very nice.
Perdón.
Ay, gracias.
Gracias, Rosana. Yo te mando el link de esta parte del video. Okay.
It's beautiful. Gracias por estar con nosotros.
Wow, how do you follow that?
Yeah, right?
Back to the, Madam Clerk, shall we go back to the order of the agenda? Okay, all right, unless, any item needs to be taken out of order. Let's go back to item 5.
Item 5, report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I have two separate memos. The first one deals with some proposed changes to the city's water department, the utility billing, something that most of you have brought up to my attention for many years, but now we need to escalate and expedite the upgrading of certain services that we offered. The first one is the company that used to service our online payment feature through the city's website for water, sewer, and garbage bills is no longer servicing. The company was RT Lawrence. They were approved by resolution, and they transferred this function to a system called, or a company called Point and Pay. RT Lawrence worked with us and Point and Pay so that they would be no stopping of the, no lagging of the services, so that people can continue to pay online while the transition was taking place. Mrs. Leon, Mr. Quintana, Rita Rodriguez, and Kari, and Iliana from ADAI worked to understand the system, and we are happy to tell you that there was no interruption with putting the Point and Pay program up and running without any interruption of service. To that, we have added an additional feature, which is the pay by phone feature. If you know that when you are trying to pay a credit card bill or a car payment, not only can you go online and make your payment like you do here, you could do it as a pay by phone. So that new feature, we will announce it on the website, the Facebook page, and with the utility bills, that residents can pay their bills by doing the pay by phone. The phone number, I've listed the phone number in my memorandum, and that number will be made available to the residents, and we'll use Mr. Quintana to help us promote this, to get our city residents used to using our online services. In addition to the enhancements, we need to address a matter that is affecting our utility billing system using presently a very outdated printer that does not communicate with our software program. Our printer, I want to say, and I was talking to Mercedes, is 20+ years old. We are working with a refurbished printer. It's a laser printer, and they don't make them anymore, and you can't find anybody to service them, and so we're working with a real dinosaur here. It is an antique, a collector's item.
We
There
should
you go.
display it in our lobby as an antique.
There you go. The change, if you give us your approval, the change would mean switching out the 20+-year-old printer and the reconfiguration of the bills, something that Commissioner Blanes has brought up several times. The mayor has brought it up. I gotta say, Vice Mayor Blanca has brought it up. Our bills are very antiquated. I attached a copy of the present bill that we used to the memo, and sometimes you can't even read the numbers and the information on the actual card. So the printer is a big problem, and that brings us to two possible scenarios. Option one uses a template that is on the computer now that we can access, but it is a bill that is generated, and it has to be folded and stuffed in an envelope. It is a detailed water, sewer, storm water, and utility tax bill, but the downside to this option is the need to purchase additional envelopes and increase the postage allocation to accommodate the 46 cents per envelope cost versus the 28 cents used right now, which is a bulk rate given to the city using the water bill card. Option two has an upfront cost, but I believe it's better from a long-term perspective. Option two uses a C-fold system, and I've actually highlighted the exhibit as option two, and it's basically a bill that comes folded and it's perforated at the ends. Like you get notices from the county, a lot of your payment notices come in this fashion. That will require some initial startup costs for the software upgrade so that we can reformat our bills to look like the exhibits that we have presented to you at a cost of approximately $1,500 plus the cost of this Z-fold equipment. This is a machine which looks like a printer, which basically folds the bills once they're printed and generated. This option saves on envelopes and postage costs. So either way, I mean, we're gonna have some costs. Option two is the option that we recommend because it takes a lot of man hours to go ahead and fold almost 2,000 water bills, over 500 bills in each billing cycle. The software change has, we envision that we will have probably 3 days of downtime, correct, Luli, more or less, 2 to 3 days, while we are also exploring the backup of all this information to be stored in the cloud. So we're not only changing out the printer, we're reformatting the water bills, and we are actually trying to do everything we can to store all of our backup data in the cloud, and there would be no longer to have all these backup tapes and, you know, go to a more modernized system. So if you have any questions or if you have any objections to the changes, I think the time is here and now to proceed with changing out the utility bill. We've gotten to the point with a laser printer that Ileana has to stand in front of the printer every time there's a billing cycle, because if the cards are moved by the printer, it ruins your entire billing batch. So,
I have witnessed that myself.
May I?
Yes, yes.
May I make a comment?
sir,
I have a comment, Mr. Aguilar.
Mrs.
I tell you, congratulations. we need this 10 years ago. So in my opinion, go ahead, because we need that.
Because Luli and everybody downstairs are crazy with all machinery we have.
We are in the,
In 19th century. So I think go ahead and do this because we need.
Right. And this is something we
Yeah.
were hoping to budget for next year, but we're having a lot of issues. And I think now that we're taking the pay by phone system into consideration, making payments online, I think that we really need to address, the ever-changing, computer and technology. So, if anybody has any comments or have any questions, I bring this to you somewhat of an emergency item because it has become an emergency.
Okay.
I suspect we're gonna spend about $4,500 to $5,000 that we will charge to our computer account in the non-department, although it is for your utility billing.
Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Madam Manager.
Thank you,
It's
Mr.
about
Mayor,
time.
members of the City Commission. So
Next.
we will work on that, announce it, so that everybody becomes acquainted. The next couple of items in my second report includes the donation of office furniture by our city attorney. Jose Villalobos, our city attorney, donated a very nice desk, which sits now in the office of the chief, and other pieces that have been taken to the Public Services Building. And we're very appreciative of this kind gesture on the part of Mr. Villalobos. I know some of you have looked at the furniture already, and if you haven't, please come by and take a look at it at your leisure.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the West Miami Recreation Center, Commissioner Blanes' department. Commissioner Blanes, I'm advised by John Michael Lopez, our Parks Director, that summer camp registration is officially open. We've placed banners up. We've had numerous inquiries, actually. This year, we've have parents that have done walkthroughs at the recreation center facility, and we have attached a copy of the summer camp and trip schedule for your ready reference. I've asked John to incorporate some art and cultural events for the city, children to be exposed to the arts. And I think this will also help us in the future, score brownie points to try to obtain some grants for the kids. And we will be taking them several times during summer camp to the Actors Playhouse to watch live plays. And so this opens up a new window of opportunity and for our children. And again, this schedule that we've presented you with is a preliminary schedule. If you feel that you need to discuss this further, I'd be happy to set up a meeting with John Michael so he could talk to us a little bit about some of the logistics for summer camp. So, but he is doing an outstanding job at the rec center. And the next item in my report, as the chief mentioned, the month of May is recognized as a Police Memorial Month. I'd like to remind the mayor and the city commission that we've sent out a calendar for the Miami-Dade County Police Memorial, which takes place tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Tropical Park. I know this is the committee chaired by Vice Mayor Blanca, and I know she will be there. And I know as well Commissioner Rhonda Rodriguez will be there. And this is a solemn ceremony to honor those that have paid the ultimate price and have sacrificed themselves to protect and serve our community. If anybody hasn't been to one of these at least once in your lifetime, I think that this ceremony truly helps us to put things into perspective, and it is a living testimony of how difficult the profession of a law enforcement officer is, and how grateful we are to have such a fine police department, and at the same time honor the life of Officer Tribble and Otto Delforn. That concludes my report.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to take another item out of order, and that will be 11B.
Item 11B, report on submittal of audited city's financial statements for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2016 by Rodriguez Trueda and Company.
Mr. Trevor,
Mayor,
welcome to
Commissioner.
the city,
Thank you, sir.
once again.
My name is Carlos Trueba. I'm a partner at Rodriguez Trueba and Company, and we have the pleasure of being the auditors for the city of West Miami. We have completed our audit for the year ended September 30th, 2016, and we've submitted our report. Our report is unmodified, clean opinion with no findings. With me is Jerry Donates, who is the manager for him, who's in charge of the job, and I'm gonna bring him up and let him do a brief presentation on the results of the audit, and then I'll come in and I'll give you a couple of things for thought as you get ready for your budget process, and I'll make a couple of other comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Welcome,
evening.
Jerry.
How you doing? Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. As Carlos mentioned, my name is Jerry Donates. I was the audit manager on the audit. So I'm just going to briefly go over the results and some of the things in the audit for fiscal year September 30th, 2016. In terms of some technical things in the accounting policies, there were no new accounting policies this year that were effective or adopted in the city or applicable to the city. In terms of significant accounting estimates in the financial statements, they basically consist of depreciation on assets and some long-term debt items like compensated absences and the net pension liability, which is related to the FRS. We basically test and review those calculations for propriety in accordance with certain agreements and other information to make sure that they are reasonable and correctly recorded. In terms of the audit itself, we did not encounter any difficulties in dealing with management or in performing and completing the audit. And the finance director and the city manager and their entire staff provided everything in a timely fashion. So once again, we were able to complete the audit without any complications. There were a couple of material audit adjustments posted for such items as depreciation on capital assets, and then a reclassification of loan proceeds related to the capital improvement revenue note that was issued in 2016. With regard to that, though, we did not have any disagreements with management during the course of the audit. And towards the end of our field work, we discussed some other issues with the finance director just to plan for 17 on some new things coming up regarding governmental accounting standards. As far as the report, there were no findings in the audit for fiscal year 2006 September 30th, 2016. And in addition, there was a finding that had been carrying over from prior years that was actually corrected. So that is no longer relevant. So there's no new finding and there's no old findings now either. In terms of some of the balances, the summary report, that first page of the executive summary, it includes some of the significant balances and some commentary in there in the executive summary itself and the rest of the pages. And you'll see that first page has some significant balances in regards to assets, liabilities, and things of that nature. And I just wanted to point out basically that the unassigned fund balance in the governmental funds, that increased slightly in 16. But with that being said, the amounts owed within the funds also increased slightly as well. So management has done a good job in working with the budget on a year-to-year basis. And then, as always, just continued improvement is needed with cash flows in general. In the enterprise funds, so that was the governmental funds. In the enterprise funds, there were no drastic changes. Everything, for the most part, remained consistent. But the unrestricted net position did decrease slightly. The second page of the summary has information on the government-wide financials, so that includes the capital assets and the long-term debt of the city. And this page also has information on the revenues and expenditures related to the government-wide basis. In terms of revenues, there were some increases in the red light camera revenues compared to last year, and the passport revenues also increased compared to 2015. In terms of expenditures, on the government-wide basis, basically, you'll see there's a significant increase there, but that's really just related to the net pension liability, which is an actuarial figure. So it's not money coming out of the city. It's just an expense related to a net pension liability coming from the state. In terms of key indicators, every year we do a financial condition assessment. It's basically a template from the Auditor General. That came back inconclusive, but that just basically means that the city is stable. It's not in an unfavorable position, and it's not, it could do better. The fund balances increased, so the unassigned fund balance increased by about $100,000 in 2016. So that balance is now at about $780,000. And ideally, we've mentioned in previous years, the goal is to get it to be probably at least 1.3 million. But over the last 3 years, I believe, it's been increasing, so it's going in the right direction. And then the enterprise funds, it's just basically, the city just basically needs to continue to monitor it. And, we know that there's an, aging water system and things like that. So the unrestricted net position did decrease slightly. And then it's basically the general fund covers it, subsidizes those expenditures when there's any shortfalls in the enterprise funds. But as those balances and if cash flows keep improving over time, that will, hopefully eventually be able to start increasing the unrestricted net position. Carlos will probably touch on a couple points in the rest of the executive summary, and then there's some information there on capital asset acquisitions and long-term debt, which you are all aware of. And then the second half of the package just has some detailed information of the actual financials. But I'll just keep it short if anyone has any questions, or if not, I'll turn it back to Carlos.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
Mr.
you, Jerry.
Trueba, in lemon terms, can you give us the good news and the future advice?
He comes in and does the closing arguments.
The couple of things. I wanted to, and I'll get there, but I wanted to thank you very much for inviting us today to watch the employee ceremony. I thought that was great, and it shows what I've always said about the city of West Miami, that it's a family. Everybody that works here is a family, and is very much part of the city. I wanted to thank the chief for the beautiful invocation. We have nothing but respect for our law enforcement officers and our armed forces, and I was moved by the invocation, Chief. Lastly, and I want to have the audit firm award of excellence, the Rodriguez Strong and Company award of excellence, that goes to Mrs. Leon and her
Absolutely.
staff, Rita and Kari, for an outstanding job that she has done for the city, and certainly with us. And I'll bring a plaque sometime, just to let you know. So, because I wanted to be part of. I wanted you to know how much we appreciate you, and thank you. Having said that, the city has made what I believe to be a significant turnaround over the last 3 or 4 years. The moment that the manager brought the proposal, and you had the courage to increase the fees, and the fees on the water system, and then on the waste. I think that was a turning point for the city, and you've slowly seen where we're now, in addition to covering some small shortfalls in the water system, the general fund is growing, and it's good growth. The plans that you've made related to the real estate development and changing the city just looks beautiful when I've traveled and when I come through it, and that money is certainly gonna be coming in. I ask you that you be vigilant the next couple of years with your expenses to get to your reserves. I ask you that you, in the short term now, you have your top executive management that is leaving on the drop program, and I ask that you start really engaging on those discussions because time flies. Having said that, I'd like to congratulate Mrs. Aguilar and all of you for keeping the city growing and beautiful. For us, it's a privilege and a pleasure to do our work. And I'm, I don't come as often as I should because Jerry has taken over a lot of that responsibility. But I feel that I'm a part of the city, and I hear from them how much they enjoy doing the work here. So on that note, I congratulate you, and I thank you.
Mr. Trueba, we want to thank you too, because I remember about 4 years ago, you came to us, and right after we didn't get the approval for annexation, which would have been something, back then we thought good for the city. But the redevelopment of that corridor has helped the city tremendously. That's something that we took your advice. We actually we were students of your advice, and I think little by little we have come to the table, and the reserves are being built up again and again, and we want to thank you for your advice to move forward in the financial and to look out for our residents and so on. We thank you for it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make a comment about that for the residents, the viewers. This is a privilege from the city of West Miami to have Rodriguez Trueba as our auditors. This firm is one of the most prestigious firms in Miami-Dade County.
Thank you, sir.
And for us in a small city, that you take care and put your time in our numbers is a real privilege. All the residents, me as a resident of West Miami, I congratulate you, and I tell you humbly, I tell you thank you very much for taking care of us. And I also agree with you, and that we have to make a plaque for Mrs. Mercedes Leon for Luli, because she's, as you said, she's the shadow of the good things. She's behind everything.
The glue behind the numbers.
Oh,
That's it.
thank you, Mr. Trevor, thank you.
Thank you,
and your team as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Jerry.
At this time, I would like to take item C.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Item C, 11C, this is a first reading, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of West Miami amending the City of West Miami zoning ordinance 282 and the adopted zoning map dated November 13, 2013, to change the zoning designation for land parcels on Southwest 23rd Street and Southwest 16th Street, providing for compatibility with the surrounding parcels and providing for uniformity as adopted in the 2017 West Miami Comprehensive Development Plan, which changed the future land use map as recommended by the City Commission, serving as the local planning agency, providing for conflict correction, providing for severability, and providing for transmittal, and providing for effective date, Mayor and City Commission.
Thank you. This is the first reading, no discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
This is first reading, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Motion.
I need a second. Okay. Take the vote, please.
Yes, Commissioner Suarez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanes?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Blanca? Mayor Mujina?
Yes.
5-0, item passes, and the public hearing and second reading of this ordinance will take place on June 7, 2017.
Thank you. Item D.
Item D, resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of West Miami authorizing the city manager to expend a total of $27,440 for services in connection with professional design documents for the Passport Office project at City Hall, payable to SCEC, providing for effective date. Mayor and City Commission.
Actually, it's payable to Cardiac Architecture.
To Cardi. Okay, corrected for the record. So SCEC. Back to SCEC, corrected again. You have enough copies?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we need to talk about. the
Mr. Mayor,
bundles.
Commissioners, first of all, this is the second rendition of what we have planned for City Hall from a long time now with the services of Passport. As you know, City Hall lobby is usually full, and it has a lot of outside residents or citizens that are coming to renew their passports, which makes it impossible for residents to conduct their business. So in order to facilitate the facility better, a year ago, we came up with the one that you see by T.Y. Lin in the back. That was a proposal back then. And then in discussing the workflow in the City Hall lobby and the existing lobby, Cardi Architecture came up with a better design for the area that we want to add to the City Hall building. Judy Cardi's here from Cardi Architecture, and she'll run you through the motion for the layout.
Okay,
Good evening, thank you.
welcome.
I'm not sure it's better, it's just it is what we, in discussion with several, well, Juan and Yolanda, Ms. Aguilar, what we thought served you better as a passport office. Our opinion of the first one was that the space that was provided for the new passport office would probably be extremely congested. And what we're showing is a larger area for waiting, and then several built-in desks. And these desks would have, the millwork would have sort of side, since passport transactions are somewhat, are dealing with personal material, and maybe even personal discussions, if it's children or et cetera, that you may not want everybody in the room to hear, or certainly the people standing next to you. And then what we're providing is an office in the rear, and then space large enough for you to move some of the existing furniture that you currently have in the adjacent existing space, office space, into that area. Unfortunately, though, what that means is that the new office that was planned no longer fits within the area that's available in front of the existing City Hall. We did try to save some money by taking out that corridor that you see in the existing one at the rear there. And so we're proposing leaving that just an exterior corridor.
No.
And then in terms of what the 3-dimension of this is, we simplified it, tried to reduce costs, continued the eyebrow of the existing City Hall around it to protect the windows and the doors. There's a door that directly leads into the passport office so that you don't have to go through your existing lobby, completely taking those people out of interfering with your daily operations in that space. And then there are a couple of windows on the side to let light in. We believe you can seat about 6 people, and then, you know, others standing. And I know at times that's a very busy space for you, so hopefully what we're showing is big enough. It certainly fits within that area that is in front of the City Hall, and anything larger than this, I think, would impact too much the front of your existing building.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes.
All right, I'm just gonna flip this over so you can, so I can ask a question. This was what was proposed before,
It was,
and the current proposition is this one.
correct.
Okay. Just a comment. I agree with the functionality of it. I agree with, because, you know, the second door, you keep it separate and so on. So is that, from a functional point of view, is that something, Ms. Aguilar, do you think works better?
The door, yes, because it limits the access for passports
So this is-
strictly to the area
Well,
where the
it-
proposed addition is gonna take place, leaving the lobby for city business.
Okay, so as far as the layout, I agree. I mean, the other layout, it was kind of cumbersome. But as far as the look on the outside, with all due respect, I think we need to work a little bit on it. I don't know if it's the proportion
Yep.
or, but
Mhm.
it's kind of funny because with all due respect, I
no.
like the rendering on the left. It looks very nice, but it doesn't work on plan.
Well,
So-
I will tell you that the rendering was extremely quick. I mean, we haven't started
Okay.
design at all, right? And I was a little bit hesitant even to show any
Okay.
three-dimension, but I thought that not showing anything
Mhm.
was probably unwise. But what this does, what you're approving here now, is really for us to start design. So any comments that you have that
Mhm.
you prefer from the other one, I mean, I think it needs to be simple and lower, you
Right.
know? I think that the eyebrow can extend around, but you can see how, this is just literally a 30-minute SketchUp
Yeah,
model
this is
that
a
was put
SketchUp,
in
I know.
Photoshop that is in no way comparable to the other model
I
that was.
totally understand.
Okay.
I've been there, done that,
Right.
and you said, okay, should I
So-
show it or not? You know?
Exactly. I was like, okay, let's just take the
Yeah.
plan, but then, you know,
Yeah.
so there's no question that I think it needs, you know, it needs some detailing. We're not even showing sills. We're not showing, you know, so there's a lot that, and we'd be happy to, you know, bring
I
it
think,
back
I
when
think
we
the
do design
circular,
it.
the circular piece, I think is taller, so maybe that's what happened.
Yes, I agree. The proportions, I think, are off of this
Yes.
SketchUp somewhat,
Mhm.
so.
I like Mr. Villalobos' picture there, right at the entrance.
Mr. Mayor, if you
Yes.
may, and members of the city commission, the two options, entertain the replacement of the front door, Mr. Penna, as we go to impact windows for all of the front of City Hall. As you know, we have a wooden door that we refinish every so often because of the weather. It tends to deteriorate every couple of years. We have to have it refinished
Mhm.
for aesthetic purposes, but this will take us completely to the impact windows that blends in with the architectural style on the building right now.
Yes, we'd like to take a closer look at exactly what does. I don't think that your current door blends with the sort of, you know, architecture that you have. So, and I don't know
I
that what
totally
we're
agree.
showing here does either, so you know,
You're getting closer.
it's closer, but it's not quite there.
Yeah, no,
so, you know.
trust me,
Mayor,
I never liked that door.
and if I may point out, and Mr. Penna and I spoke about it, and obviously we talked about it at the initial phase where T.Y. Lin came up with a conceptual drawing of the passport office. When T.Y. Lin presented the concept for the passport office, it contemplated a small commission office. Am I correct, Frank? And you went ahead and included that in the conceptual plan. In the second drawing, just submitted by Carthy Architecture,
This one, right?
SECC,
Yes.
it does not include a commission office.
Right, it does not include a separate
Because
one.
of the setup for the passport to give it a little bit more privacy, is that correct?
Well, it's more than that. It's that if you want to use only that front space for the entire function of the passport office, then the desk has to move up. There's barely any waiting space. I don't think the actual passport function works as well in the size and the millwork necessary to enclose it. And so right now, if you look at this, the passport office is purely waiting. You would stand up next to that counter that's in the middle, and then all of the office staff would serve from the behind. And you do have access to your existing office area. But without that back space, you are going to have, I think, too small a space to function properly as a passport office.
So, Mr. Mayor, I have a question. When I'm looking at this, then this is where staff will be, in this
Exactly.
blue-green area. This is staff, and this is for the customers.
Exactly. The two colors just designate sort of private and public space,
Okay.
private, staff space.
Okay. And this is a corridor, this is existing
No,
now, or is that
it's-
an open spot?
It's an open, and that door is existing. So we're not changing that.
This is not changing, that's
No,
still there?
It's still there, and really, there's some ADA push-pull things that we're hoping won't be an issue because it's just existing. So
Okay.
it was more complicated if we were extending the corridor, because then it
And
would
then,
be.
That-
and then here, I know this shows open, but this is not open. There will be some sort of, so that the people cannot come through. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
This is a door. There'll be a
There's a
door
door.
here.
There's a
Okay,
physical
perfect.
door.
Now, if you would explain to me again, you said these are desks?
No,
for
no,
the-
those are just chairs.
Just chairs.
Chairs.
We're
Where's the area
seating
you said that you would sit with the partitions?
in
Oh,
this,
that right
that
there.
area there,
Okay, got you.
right.
Thank
So,
you.
so you would, so there's sort of, there's two transaction counters that we're showing. One is lower for ADA. You can see this one where the chair is adjacent to it. And then the other one, you're able
So
to
they can
have
literally
a
come and
higher
sit there
counter.
to talk to the
Exactly.
passport agent?
And then we're talking
Perfect.
about doing sort of side panels so
Yes.
that it's a little bit private from each
So they can serve literally
side.
two
Two-
customers at a time?
Exactly.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can, do a little bit more specific design. I don't know if any of you all have been to the new passport office that Coral Gables has.
No.
They
Right.
recently opened that.
Um,
So they have a similar sort of privacy
Okay.
thing. They have more counters.
And if I may, just as a point of just observation from what I see, we have 6 months out of the year that are brutal in terms of passport applications, and so 2 stations may not take care of the number of passports that we have to process in order to meet our time frames for passport applications. So that's
Okay.
my observation, and I know that it's difficult because if somebody comes to apply for a newborn passport, they have to bring the mother and the father need to be present. Every passport application case is predicated on a different set of circumstances. An adult can come in and process a passport application for him or herself, but when there are minors, parents always have to be there. Sometimes you have a family of 5 that we're waiting on at the same time. So I bring this to your attention so that, you guys are the experts here. We need to create a space where we can attend to more than 3 families if need be, or 3 applications at a time. And I know we have very limited space.
Can I interrupt for a second? I have a family matter to attend, and I have to, can we finish this item, and I'm gonna hand the gavel over to the vice mayor. Please keep in mind that all we're doing here is just approving the fees for their design. They have come over and they have shown something in good spirit, trying to work something out, and
Okay.
and we haven't even approved their, so there's time for that, that they, that we can sit down and plan and so on. What is shown here is the intent. From my personal point of view, I think the floor plan works 100, with all due respect, it's 100 times better than the other room. It's just the elevations, and then, of course, you gotta go through the functions and so on.
Mayor,
yes.
before you go, I'd like to make my comment, because you are the mayor, you're an architect, and I like you listen to me, because I see this, that the T.Y. Lane is only one entrance to the building, right? The main door.
Right.
And then the people go inside, and then there is an opening here, and they go to the passport office inside, right? All right. Now, if the idea is to put a counter here and use that, the back part as a, for the staff, and the front from the chairs, the waiting room, this is the original one door, one unit. Now, the new one is going to have the building two doors. One door for the city hall and one door for this office. Now, this door is going to have a separate door, the area, and then we have the waiting room and the staff with the counter. Now, this will be not connected to the main, but it's going to be connected behind.
That's the current
So anyway, it's going to be a connection with the main existing reception.
But not the reception, the office.
What, the
area.
staff?
Yeah,
The staff.
But it's going to be connection here and here. Was not the connection with the staff, but through the corridor was a connection,
Exactly.
but not here.
Well,
So to me, the difference is this is one door, then two doors, so it's two separate units, what you presenting now.
It's two.
Your unit, I'm sorry, you are for Cathy Architecture, right?
I am, yes.
So that's why I'm talking about this is new,
Right.
this new element, I never saw before this.
No, it's brand.
No, I never saw it, neither this.
Oh, okay.
So this is the first time I see all this, and then this is the two differences. We are going to have, evaluate this, and we are going to have another meeting to approve whatever is designs come,
I-
right?
They will sit down with staff first because they have to talk about the function. They know the day-to-day function. So,
But just to clarify, previously it was two spaces, and now really it's one
we can do that
passport.
later. Yeah. What was that again? I'm sorry.
No, I just said previously it was two spaces because you had the passport office and then you had a back office that really functioned completely separately.
Now it's all one.
And now what we've done is we've made one space that's all passport. So you have had to give up that back office.
I know, you bring this, a separate unit, with a separate front door, and everything separate.
Yes.
That's what I see today, I never saw before, nothing, not even the other one.
there's
And now,
gonna,
if we are going to take this to a study, good, we will study this, see what.
okay. Any further questions so we can move forward
No,
with the
Mr.
item?
Mayor.
Okay? I need a motion? No, there's,
We are on item 11D.
But the motion
The
for what?
resolution was read for
To
the
con-
record.
Wait. The motion is not for approval, any concept, right?
no.
Is to give,
Design.
okay,
It's
For
to start the
design.
design.
the design.
What was that again, Madam Clerk?
This is item 11D. This is a resolution approving the expenditure of $27,440 for services in connection with professional design documents for the passport office project.
Quick question, where's the money coming from, Madam Manager?
Thank you. Madam Commissioner and members of the City Commission, I have prepared a memorandum that specifies a little bit of the background information regarding some of the accrued designated amounts, which appears in our restricted reserved general fund account. It also talks to what is remaining on the, from the loan from Estrada Hinojosa with City National Bank. And the, in addition, we have over the years, over the last 3 years, we have been accruing money from general funds, and it's going to be, that could be allocated towards the project, an additional $80,000, give or take, which is contemplated for in the financial statements, to bring the project to include the engineering, the design, the architectural services, to a total of we've identified $148,000 from accrued reserves and the proceeds of the loan without putting the city in further debt. We could potentially, and I cannot guarantee this today because you just heard from your auditors, but we could potentially try to reserve another pot of money to make sure that we can meet our financial obligation to the project without going out and borrowing additional monies. So if the proposals come in within the scope, definitely, I think that the city could be looking at commencing the project as soon as the renderings are completed and the bid process goes through.
So we have the money on hand for this?
As of today, we can count on $148,000 as of today.
Okay. Any further question? Need a motion?
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Yes, Commissioner Rodriguez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanes?
Yes.
Commissioner Suarez?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Blanca? Mayor Mujina?
Yes,
5-0, item passes.
thank you. Mr. Attorney, I'm excusing myself
I think
and
they-
giving the gavel to the Vice Mayor. Sorry, I have to go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a nice evening.
Next item, please.
Would you like to continue with the item E and the rest of the agenda? Because we still have some items like item 6, 7, 8. How would you like to proceed?
Item 6.
Item 6 is the report of the city attorney.
Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to advise you that on April 27, 2017, Judge Leafman, the hearing judge on the red light cameras, issued a series of orders advising that we could now continue the prosecution of red light cameras, which are about several hundred pendings in the city of West Miami, several hundred, I think there's about 100,000 or more throughout the state of Florida. I'd like to read for the record a couple of paragraphs here. It reads, as you're aware, the 3rd District Court of Appeal in the city of Aventura versus Jimenez, and it has a citation, allowed for the use of red light cameras in our circuit. The 3rd DCA certified the question related to the findings to the Florida Supreme Court. In other words, this is the first phase of the approval of the red light cameras. It still has to go to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to issue a final decision. In the meantime, the red light cameras are permissible in Miami-Dade County. Subsequent order by the 3rd DCA, the judge had 16 separate hearings on 16 separate cities to review the procedure of each municipality, and the judge in particular, in reference to the city of West Miami, they found that we had crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and we were absolutely on the ball. It says, today I signed 13 separate orders, which include ours, and there's another defendant that has filed a new motion to dismiss on the grounds that the BRQ, Business Rules Regulations, questionnaires, is invalid because they are preempted by state statute. So that's another avenue that the judge have to view. But it pleases me that, number one, the city of West Miami has been able to, oh, by the way, this order was circulated to 17 separate judges in the city, Miami-Dade County, and 31 separate hearing officers also in Miami-Dade County. So there's a total of 48 magistrates and judges that will be hearing our cases, and our cases will be prosecuted. But my biggest pleasure is to announce that all of this effort, hundreds of hours, have cost the city of West Miami zero. not a penny.
Good.
Because we were able to talk to ATS and found that they had granted enough monies for us to be represented, costing the city of West Miami $0.
That's good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Next item?
Miss Mayor,
Yes.
there was an accompanying resolution, item E, with the last one that you did on item D. If we could read that and get that one moved also, because they're in conjunction with the other. In other words, if we do the
Okay.
addition, we gotta upgrade the bathrooms.
Okay.
So item 11E, resolution of the mayor and the city commission of
you.
the city of West Miami authorizing the city manager to expend a total of $9,856 for services in connection with professional design documents to upgrade existing lobby restrooms to unisex and one ADA compliant and replacements of AC unit for City Hall and provide AC to restroom and stairwell, payable to SCEC, providing for effective date. Mayor and City Commission.
This, before you take a vote, in case there's any confusion, this resolution would authorize our office to engage you into, the work that I guess you need to find out whether retrofitting in the restrooms and the complete replacement of the AC to accommodate the new passport office is going to be necessary or part of this project, correct?
No, this would be, I think you feel that it is necessary
Okay.
to upgrade.
Okay.
You don't have an ADA compliant, these are the two restrooms that sit under the stair, basically.
The old
there.
men and the gentlemen and ladies
Yes.
restroom areas.
Exactly, I mean,
The
the men.
boys and girls.
Sorry, the boys is much smaller, as you know, it sits almost completely under the stair.
Always, we have the worst part.
Well, what we're proposing to do is make two unisex, so that one of them can be ADA compliant, because I don't think there's, and we haven't done a full study or drawings yet, but from a preliminary look, we do not think that both of them can be ADA compliant. So at least we can get one of them ADA compliant, and then the other one would just be another unisex restroom for use. So you would have two restrooms for all of those people to use, including the new passport office. And then one would be compliant, the other one not.
Okay.
Is that sufficient to have just one?
We believe that it is sufficient in terms of numbers required for the amount of people.
I do have a question. This construction is not touching those bathrooms, so why at this time are we having, obviously it's to make them compliant, but are we just using the timing of the new construction to do that?
Yeah.
So once you're touching the grandfathered,
You lose
Right.
your
Well, we're
grandfather
adding-
status.
you're no longer grandfathered,
Yeah,
okay.
well,
I
we're
got it.
adding more people because of the passport
Got it,
office, and
got
it's
it.
an assembly occupancy, so. And then the air conditioning as well, it's a replacement of that, and,
Understood.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this money, Madam Manager,
It's part of the $148,000 pot. So we have, you have approved 27,000 and change now. And if you approve the $9,856, you're eating, you're eating into the 148, but that's what we have. And hopefully we are comfortable that we can move along with the construction of the passport office.
Do I hear any motion?
Motion.
Yes, on the motion, Commissioner Rodriguez, how do you vote?
yes.
Commissioner Blanes?
Yes.
Commissioner Suarez?
Yes.
Mayor Blanca?
Yes.
4-0, item passes.
Next item, please.
How would you like to proceed? Again, with the original order
F.
or the agenda F? Okay, item 11F, resolution of the mayor and city commission of the city of West Miami authorizing the city manager to execute a limited purpose membership agreement between Florida Green Finance Authority and the City of West Miami for the purpose of providing the property owners of the City of West Miami the opportunity to participate in the State of Florida approved PACE program pursuant to City Resolution 2017-04 for energy efficient property improvements, providing for effective date, providing for severability, and instructing the city clerk to transmit this resolution to the property appraiser and to the Miami-Dade Tax Collector's Office, Mayor and City Commission.
If I may, Madam
Yes,
Mayor,
please.
before you call a vote on the resolution, this resolution would in essence authorize my office to enter into an agreement with Renewed Financial so that they can become vendors to those residents who wish to finance their improvement projects that meet the regulations under the PACE program, which is a Florida statute created program that provides alternative financing for residents that have no other means or choose to go this route to finance roofing, impact windows, I believe energy efficient air conditioners, and whatever improvements fall under the umbrella of the PACE program. The gentleman from Renew Financial is here. His name is Devesh Nimuri, and I know that you've been here before.
Yes, I have been here, yes.
So if the city attorney wishes to add something to this explanation, I think that now is the time before you
Okay.
call a vote.
Mr. Attorney?
Well, it has taken a long time because there was a lot of issues. This is a new program, and it has taken really very thorough, not only investigation, but also research. And we have found that we have studied other municipalities' programs, and I find that Miami-Dade County's contract is the one adequate to be adopted by the City of West Miami. So we have drafted a contract, a contract that you would authorize the city manager to execute with the company, and this would permit the company to bring the benefits to the citizens of West Miami. I know Commissioner Rodriguez has been very active, and we have met with different commissioners in the past, and there have been tons of studies in this particular case, and I think that we have found the light at the end of the tunnel.
And again, this is, we are probably one of two remaining municipalities in Dade County that has not really opened up its doors to the PACE program until just recently. So, and we have had an increasing amount of residents contacting the city wanting to participate in the in this program. And basically, the city does not have to administer the contract. The city does nothing other than execute a contract. They hold us harmless. We have no liability the way Mr. Villalobos and the contract has been structured. This is something strictly between the property owner,
And then,
the vendor, and the property appraisers and tax collector's office.
If you can remember the importance of the whole harmless agreement and the on this particular issue was brought out to light recently when we were sued, and there was an appeal filed, and it cost a lot of money to the to a particular developer, but it cost the city of West Miami
Zero, yeah, I
$0
remember.
again. So I think that we're traveling the right path into being very careful in the things that we do, not only in the past, but in the present and also the future.
Madam Mayor, I have two questions for staff before we take,
Go ahead.
Madam Manager, is this the last step?
This is the last
Before we
step.
open it up?
Before residents are given an opportunity, let's say, to go to their Lowe's and Home Depots and whatever stores have the program available, and
that-
say they want to participate. This is one of the companies that has approached us. I think that you heard Mr. Villalobos say from the onset of this conversation that he and our office did not recommend exclusive contracts, and that residents should have an option to talk to different vendors. And this is what this contract does for one of the vendors that has come to the city to express his interest in participating. The gentleman is here tonight. And there is another vendor that has approached us, and you'll probably see a similar item on your next agenda.
So once we hear that, we'll be finished with the process? Because we were
Correct.
going- So this is
Once-
one of,
two that has approached the city.
so until we execute the agreement with the other,
Once we execute
not
this
be-
agreement, we are done with Renew Financial, and what our job is to transmit to the clerk of the court the document as instructed by a city attorney, and I'm assured that we also need to transmit the recorded document to the property appraiser's office, so that they have knowledge that residents, that the city is participating in the program, and that way they can honor any request by a resident to basically pay the debt over time through their mortgage statement or their property tax
right,
bill.
so to just be a little bit more exact in my question, when will a resident be able to take advantage of this program?
Yes, so typically what happens is.
Your name, please?
Sorry, Devesh Nirmal, Renew Financial. I was here a few months ago. Thank you for having me back. Really enjoy being here with
Okay.
your city. Once we get 3 signed versions of the of the party member agreement back, we are able to then say, okay, we can turn on the city, meaning we will start to work with contractors directly. And you could go online and put your address in and see if you're eligible for measures. So we'll turn that on as soon as we get the agreement signed back. But until we get those signed back, typically it takes a week to have them mailed back to us. We can't turn on, but
So
1 or 2 weeks.
about a week, 1 or
Yeah,
2
yeah,
weeks. Now, Madam Manager, that's with just this one vendor?
That is correct.
Until the other vendor has this same agreement? they
We
will
send
not-
the other vendor the same agreement.
Right.
He did send us back an agreement which was not the one that we drafted. So we still have to call him up and try to coordinate the agreement to be
To meet the
consistent.
specifics of
Consistent.
of
We
the-
just don't want to have
Right.
one agreement with one and a separate agreement with another vendor. We're open to not having a monopoly in the city of West Miami. And so the same contract that we sent this gentleman, we send out to the other vendor.
That's my concern. We're opening it up right now, well, it will be opened up once these agreements are gone between the two, with just one vendor. And I thought,
Well,
we originally said we were going to
The
offer
problem
more
is-
than one vendor.
I'm sorry. The problem is that we did advise the other vendor, but he was unable to be here
Right.
for personal reasons.
Mhm,
But he was supposed to be here today,
mhm.
but unfortunately, he had some leak, some
he
problems
had
in his
a
own.
problem in his home, and he had to
Okay.
attend to that.
So
So
he
he asked us
requested to
right.
be here next
at the
time,
next commission meeting.
commission
Right, so
meeting.
my concern is just, when we do open this up to our residents, I want to be sure we have more than one vendor.
Yes.
Can we date the agreement on June 1st to give us time to execute whatever number of agreements come between now and the next commission meeting?
I just don't want to
Can we
roll it
put
out,
a
I don't want to
June
roll it out with
1st?
one vendor only.
So-
When we roll it out, I want to have what we agreed upon initially, that we
Okay.
have more
Options.
than one vendor.
But
for
I want the commissioner
resident
to understand that
choose
it was because the other vendor was not able to be here.
Right,
Right.
right.
Okay?
That's fine. So let's just,
Okay.
correct.
Can we make the effective date June 1st, 2017?
Can we defer this?
There will
until
be an
next-
No, no,
agreement
no, I
that-
don't think we need to defer it. I just want to be sure when we roll it out, we have more than one vendor.
Just by way of a
available.
comment, the other provider, White Green, is predominant in the county already. So actually having us, we're the only other active funder in this county. We have 4 other cities we're in. The county agreement is, we're going to be on agenda probably in a few weeks. I think what it is that you're starting to open up the competition by having us
Mhm.
start, because there's neighbors right now that don't get the advantage of having competition in most of Miami-Dade County. So I think it's a good leadership position to take to initiate us, and I think there's another provider, there's actually 4 in the state. There's 4 districts that you belong to as a government when you opt in, and then we are exclusive providers, each authority or district. So we're not, you're actually opting into an interlocal governmental authority, not us. And we have to be accountable to a group of governments as a whole, including yourselves. So just want to highlight that. The vendors themselves that we recruit, the contractors that we manage and recruit, make sure they do the right thing, meet the public purpose. There will still be competition across the particular contractors. But I would encourage you to move ahead, and then White Green's already very well settled in the county across the
What the commissioner wants is to be able to have and to, be again consistent.
Right.
So we can, as the the city manager suggested, to have an effective date for later on when we have the two vendors signed up.
Correct.
I think that you could sign or approve the contract today, effective as soon as the other vendor comes through.
Perfect. As
and
long as we
negotiate
do
with
what
us.
we said we were going to do
Now,
initially, which is
again,
have
mind
only one
you,
vendor.
the contract that they sent us is not the one that I drafted,
Mhm.
so they would have to accommodate us.
Mhm.
You see, because we want to have the same contract for everybody, we
Mhm.
just don't want to have
Correct.
separate contracts.
That's fine.
So if they don't come with that particular contract that I prepared, I would not recommend you to approve it, okay?
Then
We should wait.
we
then.
should, how are we going to approve tonight then?
Well,
If you're saying we need to
you
wait to
know,
see their
we
contract.
had advertised this to everybody. We have had open discussion with White Green as well, and the same discussions that we had with this gentleman. So if they don't come, what are we going to do?
But I'm saying you just expressed a concern about not if their contract is not the same.
Well, it isn't the
That-
same, the one that they sent me. So all we have to do is call them back and say, this is not what we agreed upon.
Okay, so then we are okay with voting tonight.
I'm sorry?
We're okay with voting
With this
tonight
one.
Yes.
on this one.
Yes.
And then obviously we will vote on that one when it's presented to you? Will it
That's
come before
correct.
us again? Okay.
That's correct. And Mr. Villalobos and I have discussed it, and obviously Mr. Villalobos feels that this contract, particularly this one, meets with his legal
Okay.
advice.
Okay.
And protects the city.
And
Okay.
this is just about verbatim how the county has it.
Okay,
Correct.
So we're not reinvented the wheel.
perfect,
Okay.
fine.
Can I make one last comment? So the agreement that he's referring to, we've been back and forth with the county for several months. I think White Green signed an earlier version of the Miami-Dade agreement, and that might be where they're wanting to relook at that and come back to you, because we have a more updated agreement from the county that we've had to sign. So
Okay.
that could be
Okay,
where the
thank
discrepancy is.
Do you hear motion?
Motion?
Need second?
Second.
On the motion,
let me-
Commissioner,
Let me explain before I vote. I think for you, Commissioner Rodriguez,
Mhm.
and Villalobos, you clear me. Once the city of West Miami, any city, open this system, any of these vendors will be able to come to the city and apply for the work.
Exactly.
Anybody.
That's the way, right?
Those that are
That's
approved.
the way.
Those
That's
that we have,
That's the
exactly.
way. Okay, yeah, I vote yes.
Under the same terms.
Yes.
okay.
Under the same terms
Yeah.
and conditions.
Once the
Yes.
city open
And
the
the
system,
contractor, if I may clear something, the
Anyone-
contract is,
Excuse me,
they
one
come
at a time.
and they will under this system
Mhm.
that was approved. That's
Mhm.
it.
right, and the contractor will be the one coming to the city to apply for the building permit,
For
not
everyone.
renewed financial.
Correct. In fact, they have to follow through permits for us to fund them. We don't let the consumer have to worry about that. We make sure that they complete the job completely, and then we pay them.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
thank
vote
you.
yes.
Okay, City Clerk,
Commissioner Suarez voted yes. Commissioner Blanes?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mayor Blanca?
yes,
4-0, item passes.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Devesh. We'll be in touch tomorrow so that we can do the signing.
Okay. Next item, number 7, please.
Item 11G, resolution of the Mayor
Oh, I'm
and City
sorry, yes.
Commission of the City of West Miami amending the 2015-2020 Capital Improvement Plan to include public works improvements consisting of sidewalks and road resurfacing to be funded from surtax proceeds, providing for effective date, Mayor and City Commission.
Madam Mayor, if I may, before you call the vote on this resolution, is this, by amending our capital improvement plan to allow sidewalk work to be accomplished using PTP money, we've just opened up the window to be able to fund more sidewalk work as we get closer to planning for next year's budget. We'd like to fund more than what we have this year. $100,000 is a little drop in the bucket. We have a sidewalk situation citywide that needs to be approached more aggressively. And so this creates a window for us to be able to use PTP money for sidewalk improvements.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, quick question. How is it we're doing this now and not before? What changed that we're able to
Well,
do this now?
The office of the PTP came and conducted an independent audit of the city's finances about 2 or 3 months ago. And we had an exit interview with the auditor that came from Miami-Dade County. And we asked specifically whether we could use PTP money for sidewalk replacement and or root pruning, and the answer was unequivocally yes. We're still waiting for their closeout report, which they have not submitted to the city. However, they did advise us that we needed to include the sidewalk as part of our capital improvement plan so that we can submit this resolution to the county, and this would again become an authorized category for us to expend PTP money for these types of improvements.
Motion.
Second.
On the vote?
Yes, Commissioner Blanes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Yes.
Commissioner Suarez?
Yes.
Mayor Blanca?
Yes.
4-0, item passes.
Item 7, please.
Item 7, report of the city engineers. No report. Item 8, committee reports.
Madam Mayor, I do have a few quick reports.
Very quick.
Very quick. I'll go as quickly as I can. We've already, I believe, talked about, and you've probably received a calendar for Career Day
Yes.
for Somerset.
Yes.
So just a reminder, that's on May 15. I would love for you all to join me, if you can, from 8:45 to 10:30. I believe, Madam Manager, you've already confirmed?
Yes.
Okay. And then today, I just got an email from Sylvania Heights that they're having their Career Day on May 31st. I don't have the times yet, but it'll be in the morning. So I'm sure the manager will send out a calendar on that. So on May 31st in the morning, if you all are welcome to join me at Sylvania Heights for
And May
Career Day.
15.
May 15 is already set. No, that's at the school,
At the school.
where we go to the classrooms. The same with Sylvania. Sylvania, May 31st in the morning. I don't have the times yet. When I have them, we'll send out a calendar. I would love for you all to join me. The questions, it's a fun, very fun time. The questions that they ask are really quite interesting. On another note with Sylvania as well, I heard over the weekend that Sylvania Heights came in first place in Dade County in their robotics club.
Good.
So I heard this from a parent at the school. Didn't have a chance to call the school to speak with Ms. Reyes. But what I'd like to do is get your thoughts and hopefully your blessing. I'd like to ask her if it's okay if we present some sort of recognition to their robotics club, because STEM is a new, very important part of public education now. Science, technology, engineering, and math. So for our home school to have a robotics club that came in first place in Dade County, I think that's a great achievement. So I'm going to call her and
Yes.
see if it's okay with, present it to either her or
All
the
in
club
favor?
or the children.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and because our next meeting is the last meeting before school's out. So if we do it, we're gonna
Yes.
have to
Go
present
ahead.
it then. One last thing, am I talking fast enough, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. One last thing, movie night, that Commissioner Sosa was good enough to bring to our city. It was a wonderful community evening. It was enjoyed by many families. I was there the whole time, and the parents, the children, it was a nice community event. It brought the community together. So I'd like to know from you all, get your thoughts and hopefully your blessing, if I may discuss with her to bring it to our city a little more often as a regular event. I'm gonna get with the city manager to find out the cost
The
to us.
cost, yes.
That's what I'm gonna talk to her about,
Talk
to
to
see,
her
to see
first.
what our cost
Yes.
was. But I just wanted to let you know, it really indeed was a very nice community event. Our police officers were there, and you know, the families had a great time. So I'd like to make it a little more often, if possible, once I speak to the manager and the cost.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item, citizen presentations, no presentations. Next item is unfinished business, item 10, none this evening. And that concludes, covers the agenda.
Good of the order.
I just want to thank our chief and our deputy chief and what the attorney said when they made sure we crossed our Ts and dotted our Is on that red camera issue. Thank you for being so diligent and what's the word I want to use here? Exacting and making sure we were doing the right thing. Thank you.
Good of the order. Motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Was I fast enough?